Can you believe it? I am back. Yes, I'm back. It's kind of sound like a car there. WeCake'n. I'm back. And this episode is a little delayed. Now, half the reason why I slightly delayed this episode is because I really wanted to know all of the details about the Chicago Blackhawks scandal. So, we are going to start this. This is going to be a very intense episode. We're going to be talking about some pretty intense topics that could be, they're not fun. They're adult topics. They're hurtful topics. And I am first going to put a link in the description to the Kyle Beach interview, pretty much trying to help you stay up to date on what's going on in the NHL and in the Chicago Blackhawks franchise. This is very, very important. This needs to be discussed. Every team, everybody, heck, this is a learning moment for everybody on the face of the planet for what the NHL failed to do. What the Chicago Blackhawks organization failed to do. So, this is your warning. We're going to talk about some super intense things coming up very, very soon. And if you have not already seen the Kyle Beach interview, I do apologize. I do not remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head who did the interview. However, that guy is a saint. I am so thankful for everything that he has done so far for this gentleman. I think it might be Rick Westhead. I think it's Rick Westhead. I believe he was I don't know, sorry if I misnotation your actual occupation, but journalist, host type person. You've done a phenomenal job. Okay, now that I've have started giving high fives, let's start actually talking about what's going on. So this guy named, now that we all know the name, now that we can say it, Kyle Beach, this gentleman by the name of Kyle Beach, he was a prospect for the Chicago Blackhawks. I believe Kyle Beach was drafted 11th overall by the Chicago Blackhawks in the 2008 draft. So a fair amount of time ago. And this prospect, I really don't think I could say if I know any other person that's been done as dirty as this guy. And I'm not trying to downplay anybody else's experiences. As far as what I understand and or know about the sports world, this is when it gets too far. So Kyle Beach is this prospect. And pretty much what happens is that one of his coaches invited him back to his place. I don't remember the pretenses. Invites this player back to the place. And this is the video review coach. So he's a guy that you're supposed to trust. It's a guy that you are going to believe he is going to try and walk you through certain steps or certain strategies. Pretty much just a discussion of how do I become a better player. That's the job of a video coach. He breaks down your play, gives you tips for how you can improve on your play. That is what this, and that guy's name is Brad Aldrich. So Kyle walks in to Brad Aldrich's apartment because Brad Aldrich invited him over. Now the interaction sort of ended like this. So what happened when Kyle was there is that the video review coach, Brad Aldrich, threatened to physically hurt Kyle Beach with a weapon, which what we learned was a baseball bat. He threatened his career. Pretty much he was going to tell people that what was about to happen, if he let anybody know, you're done. I am going to let everybody know that you aren't going to have a chance to compete in this league or anywhere. You can't play the sport. You might not even be able to show your face. he's going to be able to attack your career that bad. So not only is he going to threaten to hurt him physically, hurt his career, but of course that is also going to take if that hurts your career, that is going to hurt your finances. If you can't work, you don't make money. That's how the world works. If you can't somehow sell your skills to somebody to say, hey, I can do this, you give me money for my skill. Life is pretty much exploiting your skills to survive. That is what our society is all about. That's not what we're getting in. This is a really important matter. So, Kyle Beach is invited over to his video coach's apartment where he is threatened by physical violence with a weapon, being a baseball bat, threatens his career, pretty much telling people he will burn his bridges everywhere if he says anything, his financial life, because, of course, how are you going to make money if you can't work, and if everyone thinks that you are this bad person or you did this god-awful thing, no one wants to be associated with that. And finally, his mental health. Think about it. Think about if you couldn't get work anywhere, because somebody lied about something that happened with you, regarding you, to the entire planet. The entire planet knows that you did X. You did this thing that was so heinous, so bad, that you just can't survive. So what do? Go to the woods and try to live a lumberjack's life? I'm not sure what you do at that point, but it's not going to be easy at that point. And of course, who's going to even want to talk to you after that? Who's going to trust you? Who even cares? Now we're going to get to the nitty gritty. Now we're going to get to the part to where it gets to be, I can't believe that's what happened. Brad Aldrich, the video review coach, threatens Kyle with a sexual advance. Now, my understanding, I believe, is that the video review coach wanted to perform a sexual act on the player. Oral stimulation. The video review coach wanted to provide oral stimulation to the player, Kyle Beach. Kyle was not interested in that. He did not want to do that. He wanted to leave that apartment. He learned quickly that this is not what he came. This is not what he wanted to get into. He was not interested in this. Brad, on the other hand, didn't give that as an option to Kyle, as he used his position of power as the video review coach of a national sports team. Not just a national sports team, one of the original 6 NHL franchises, the Chicago Blackhawks. He used his power as leverage to say, if you don't let me do this to you, if you don't let us have this, if you don't let me perform this act on you, you are going to be a shattered person walking out these doors. And as many people would have done is let that happen. And unfortunately, that's what had to happen. The act was done. And then I believe at the same time, now I do apologize if I do get this incorrect, but I am pretty sure I have read a fair amount about this, is that I believe the video review coach, Brad Aldrich, while performing that act on Kyle Beach, was also in the state of pleasuring himself. The video review coach, Brad Aldrich, ended up pleasuring himself to the point of relief. And he just so happened to hit the... And he ended up hitting... No, I'm not... You can't downplay this. You can't downplay this. The video review coach, Brad Aldrich, ended up hitting Kyle with his ejaculate. He hit him with his sperm. He relieved himself onto Kyle sexually. That's the story. That's where it starts. That was in 2010. Now, you might know that something happened to the Chicago Blackhawks in 2010. The Chicago Blackhawks started their tear, started their reign, their Stanley Cup reign in 2010. Now, the worst part about all of this is I believe that all of this happened right after the Chicago Blackhawks won their third round, their conference final in the playoffs. So they pretty much have the Stanley Cup on the line. Well, I think it may happen a little bit earlier than that, but that's when things started to, when discussions were starting to happen, when whispers were starting to happen within the organization. So Kyle pretty much tries to talk to his team and say, hey, this happened to me. This guy who I am told to trust. I am paid to trust. The organization pays this player to trust this coach with his life. Pretty much. Let's think about it. Let's be honest. If your performance, your livelihood, your health is on the shoulders of that coach, yes, that coach, in essence, is responsible for that player's health. Brad was reported to the Chicago Blackhawks organization by Kyle Beach. However, the Chicago Blackhawks organization has a conversation about this behind closed doors, and they say, hey, and predominantly a name that was mentioned was Joel Quenneville, who, if nobody knows, which I don't know how you don't know at this point in time, especially if you're a hockey fan, he was the coach of the Chicago Blackhawks that led the Chicago Blackhawks to 3 Stanley Cup championship titles in, I believe it was 5 years. And he was also the coach of the Florida Panthers, which we'll get to in a little bit. Pretty much, Joe Quenneville, the coach of the Panthers, behind this closed door meeting says, hey, we know this is bad, but look how long ago Chicago has won a Stanley Cup. Now, we got a great group of guys out there, and these guys can do it. But what we can't do is have a distraction like this. This is unacceptable. We cannot have a distraction like this. We'll take care of it later, but we got a Stanley Cup to win. We got to go out there. We got to snipe. We got to get some goals. We got to win this thing and take it home for Chicago. We'll take care of all that other stuff, funny stuff later. Which you will hear is a fatal mistake for his career. Joe Quenneville is what I'm talking about. So, the Chicago Blackhawks kick the ice cube under the refrigerator. Like, nope, that never happened. Nobody knows. Chicago goes to win the title. They win the 2010 Stanley Cup Championship against the Philadelphia Flyers. If you don't remember, that's the one where Patrick Kane comes on the left side, shoots it short side, and nobody knows that it's squeezed through the pads or squeezed through the side of the Philadelphia goalkeeper. As Patrick Kane skates around the net, throwing off all his equipment, and nobody knows why. Until the refs go to the net and realize that the puck is in the net, and the Chicago Blackhawks are your 2010 Stanley Cup champions. So, what happens is that they win the championship. No discussions are made. Nothing happens regarding the coach. I'm wrong about that. Brad Aldrich, the video review coach, was actually invited to the Stanley Cup ceremonies that the Chicago Blackhawks had. Yep, that's right. Kyle Beach, the prospect, had to sit by and watch this guy who did this thing to this adult young man is awarded a Stanley Cup ring, who gets his name engraved on the Stanley Cup. He gets all of that. He gets all the glory. He gets to party. He gets to chug beers. He gets to be in the group photos. He gets to live it up. While Kyle Beach stands by the side, confused, sad, hurt. How would you feel about that? The organization did nothing. And like Kyle Beach says in his interview, it was at that point when his heart turned to dust. Because how would you feel if you reported somebody violating you to something beyond your wildest expectations? And then pretty much for that guy to receive the greatest trophy in sports. And not only that, to get your name engraved in history, to be in the photos, to be on ice, to be involved in anything regarding that organization. He was given that opportunity. They wanted him to participate. How is that even possible? Now, hold on to your butts, because this gets even worse. This gets even worse. After all of the celebratory stuff goes through the Chicago Blackhawks, all the parties are done. The season is over. The Blackhawks then decide, hey, we remember you did this thing, but we won the cup, so we'll let you quit. And that's that. That's that. That's that. He's gone. No one talks about it anymore. Nope, they still do. So, that's what happened to Brad Aldrich. He just quit. He got to quit. Nothing happened to him. Not a slap in the wrist. Oh, the cherry on the top. He got a recommendation. Yep. He got a job recommendation after assaulting somebody. After just violating someone's trust. He gets the pat. He gets the ultimate pat on the back. He gets the ultimate go ahead. He gets told and validated that everything he did was okay. That's not bad. He got a high five for doing that. I cannot believe that one bit. Nope, can't believe it at all. So, Aldrich is gone. Kyle Beach, how could you even imagine what he's been thinking? This has been a psychological, emotional carnival of horror. This is a nightmare. This is a carousel he cannot get off of. So, like anybody, like any reasonable human being, this impacts Kyle Beach to the point to where he can't compete. And that's not a bad thing at all to say. That's not a bad thing to admit. You are so hurt. You trusted this so much that it turned around. And you were left alone and you were left unprotected. And You couldn't keep your... I don't know. I couldn't keep my career. Dude, I'd probably just quit. He ends up getting traded to the Rangers because of obvious performance. Because he's got a lot to think about. Believe it or not, he's got a lot on his mind. And eventually he's so caught up, he just can't get over the trauma. That's not a bad thing. Like I'm saying, it's a lot to get over. This isn't a mean thing. He's still dealing with the trauma to the point to where it's affecting his game, to the point to where he is labeled a huge bust. Search Kyle Beach, Chicago Blackhawks, bust. You will find countless articles, countless screenshots of articles detailing how this prospect, who is supposed to be a power forward that could hit and move the puck, a position that is greatly needed in the NHL, greatly valued, just unfortunately had to bow out. He just couldn't be a part of it. So now we get, I guess, to present day. And we start learning a little bit more. So we start learning that not only did management know about this whole thing. Remember how I said that there was a conversation behind closed doors? Well, there was whispers. And those whispers ended up getting louder and louder and louder until a conversation was formed. Kyle Beach was ridiculed by his players. He was called every possible gay derogatory word that you could think about. Every single one that you could think about. He had players. He had teammates that would chase him around the ice, calling him slurs, attacking sexuality, attacking something that he knows a lot more than anybody else does. And this player gets bullied by it. In front of his other players, in front of the other management, in front of everybody. Kyle Beach gets bullied. So this is not a secret within the organization. Everybody knows about this now. And it was okay. Now, I'll be honest with everybody. There's one thing about calling somebody a slur. Because at that point, you can go, okay, maybe they don't understand that that's hurtful. Maybe they don't understand that that's not a appropriate thing to say to somebody. Maybe it's just something that somebody says to try to get under your skin. Just based on a blanket thing. Like something that you're actually into. Or something that you're a part of. But in this regard, where if they know this player was coerced into doing this for somebody, this player was coerced, forced to do this act for this other guy, for this other person, for this other coach that he was supposed to trust. And those players, this organization, got away with it. Well, let's fast forward to a month ago. Like I said earlier, a gentleman by the name of... Oh, that is not... Finding the resources here. Where are you at? Rick Westhead, the journalism fella, finally comes out and this story breaks. We learn everything. And then there were some corrections to be made. So the league has done some things. The Chicago Blackhawks organization has made some adjustments. Adjustment number 1, the general manager who was serving over the Chicago Blackhawks was Stan Bowman. He has resigned. He was the GM during all of those 3 Stanley Cup runs. He has resigned. Which I wish he... Everybody knows it's way more satisfying when somebody that does something bad gets fired and they get an example made of them rather than, you know what? We're going to give you the opportunity to realize that you did something bad. You can just step down and we'll just move on. Because that's not scolding somebody. You're just saying, hey, just don't do that again. Hey, you let this guy's career get ruined. But you know what, guy? It's okay. Let's take your money and you can just retire to a cottage. That's it with you. Or you can be made an example of. And that did not happen. In relation to other management, you may have heard a little earlier about the Panthers head coach, Joe Quenneville. Oh, wait, that name sounds familiar. It does sound familiar, because Joe Quenneville was the coach of the Chicago Blackhawks during this whole thing. He was the guy that said, hey, we can't talk about this now. We got a Stanley Cup to win. That guy's mental state, that guy's life, put it on pause. This isn't a team sport. We don't care about our prospects. Come on, dude. Come on. So, the Panthers head coach, Joe Quenneville, actually gets lit up. Actually gets fired by the Florida Panthers. That is a good. That needed to happen. So you can kind of tell the Chicago Blackhawks organization and the NHL, they're pretty much trying to rip every single person that was involved in this situation out of the NHL. Or are they? Let's look at Winnipeg. The general manager, or the guy that oversaw hockey operations, I don't remember. Cheveldayoff is the gentleman's name. So Kevin Cheveldayoff, was a part of the Chicago Blackhawks organization during all this craziness. He is now the GM of the Winnipeg Jets. He's still there, even though they were talking about he was a part of this meeting. He knew about this. I mean, how do you not know about this if you are one of the higher ups? You get to make the decisions. A coach can say something, but the coach doesn't say, hey, we're going to trade this player. Hey, we're going to make this change. The coach can't say, you know what? I'm not fired. I'm going to keep my job. No, you don't get that power. The GMs of the teams get to make those choices, have that decision-based power. Kevin Cheveldayoff is still the GM of the Winnipeg Jets. So you can line up a coach. But when it gets to a GM, hands off. Don't touch that GM. He's fine. Despicable. Embarrassing. Tasteless. crude, cowardly. And now we're going to get into the punishment for the team. So, that is most of the stuff that has happened with the Kyle Beach thing. I'm going to take a little step back and give you a little insight to how the league deals with controversy or foul play. Take a look at the Arizona Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes, if you don't know, because it seems like it's every other year, they're in a rebuild. Why? What happened? What's going on? Well, their general manager about 2 years ago, Paul Chankya, he was busted for training and doing illegal tests on prospects. Pretty much just trying to say, hey, are you going to be actually right for a team? Blah, 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 blah. Does illegal fitness tests with some prospects. The Arizona Coyotes end up losing a first-round draft pick and a second-round draft pick of the following season. That GM just quits. He resigns like a day and a half after and never has to deal with a single breeze of repercussions. Because he's not a part of the team anymore. He's not even in the sports world anymore, I don't believe. He doesn't have to care. He's like, oh, that's too bad. That's too bad for that team. I'm not a part of the hockey world anymore, so please keep questions to my occupation. And that's how he would sound right now. God, I'm so mad at that guy. So the Arizona Coyotes lose 2 draft picks. Now they're in a rebuild. This last summer, the Arizona Coyotes got rid of all their talent. They let it go. Pretty much most of their talent went to Canada. The Canucks got Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who was their captain. The Canadiens, they got Dvorak. The Coyotes don't have much going for them besides Clayton Keller, Lawson Crusoe, and Phil Kessel. Oh, yeah, they got rid of Ante Ranta. He is now a Hurricane. And Darcy Kemper is an Avalanche. They got rid of a lot. They got rid of everything. The Arizona Coyotes have been notified at the start of this season that they are not allowed to return to their Gila River Arena next year. That's right. The Arizona Coyotes, who, like I said, who are pretty much in a rebuild just about every other season, have been kicked out of they have been booted out of their arena. You can't play here next season. Why? Because you're always in a rebuild. You can't bring in fans. You can't make us money. Get out. Do not come back. Think of how much money that organization is losing. All they did was they did tests for prospects. That's all the Arizona Coyotes did, is they tested prospects. You take a look at what the Chicago Blackhawks did. They covered up sexual assault. They gave a reference to a sexual assaulter. The Chicago Blackhawks organization was fined $2 million. That's it. $2 million. A $2 million get out of jail free card. The salary cap is about 84 million. And they paid, that's like a 40th of the, I mean, can you believe that? That math probably isn't right. Maybe it is. But they barely paid any, I think it's a 40th of the salary cap. Can you believe that? $2 million. That's it. You just pay $2 million and it all goes away. Think about how much money the Arizona Coyotes are going to lose over this season plus the next few seasons because of what their GM did. And he's fine. You look at this with the Chicago Blackhawks, that's $2 million. And you're like, that's it? That's it. Chicago Blackhawks be like, that's it? And NHL be like, that's it. Now just say you're sorry. Sorry. And that's where they're at. That's criminal. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion on my punishment. Tell me if this is too harsh. Tell me how you feel about this. What I believe should happen is that the Chicago Blackhawks need to forfeit their first, second, and third round draft picks for the next 5 seasons. Yup! The first, second, and third draft pick for 5 full seasons. Maybe even the 4th. I want this to be difficult. I want this to sting. I want this to be a reminder. I want this to be a stain on the franchise. I want this to be a dark cloud that looms over the franchise. This needs to be a consistent reminder, and they need to be an example made of, to be taught a lesson. And they need to feel the sting. So I think that the Chicago Blackhawks either get their first, second, and third draft picks removed, or all of their draft picks removed for 5 seasons. Every draft pick that has been traded away, that some other team may own, that will be made up. Oh, you know what? For every pick that has already been traded, that will be consecutive years after that. So no matter what, they're going to lose 5 years. After that, let's just say that Chicago had, like the Seth Jones contract where they gave away a draft pick. That is going to stack onto that following season. They are going to still be crippled. That other team is still going to get their draft pick. But Chicago then is going to pay for that draft pick after the 5 years. In addition to that, I believe that, I did talk about the bullying, that the players in the team knew about it. The captain knew about it. That's Jonathan Toews. Patrick Kane, their first overall draft pick, knew about this. He's a player on their team. Patrick Sharp, who is an NHL analyst, knew about this. Duncan Keith, one of the best defensemen in NHL history. I believe he's a top 100 player for the NHL. Knew about this. What I'm getting at is that many, many, many players knew about what happened. People knew. Actions weren't taken. Bullying happened. Prizes were awarded to people that did not deserve them. I think it would be appropriate to ask those players to retire. To ask anybody that is still left from that team playing right now to retire. Say, hey, you had a great career. This is a really bad thing that happened. And your entire team was involved in it. You as a teammate had a responsibility. Don't act like you didn't overhear things. You're all guilty. I think that would be one of the only ways to make that up. And on top of that, yes, I'm going for the throat for Kyle Beach. I am going for the harshest punishment possible. those players those players that have been given the opportunity to retire can never have their jerseys retired. No retirement for Patrick Kane. No retirement for Jonathan Toews. No jersey retirement for Duncan Keith. No jersey retirement for Patrick Sharp. No jersey retirement for Nicholas Chalmerson. No jersey retirement for Marian Hossa. None of those players. None of any of them. I'm just listing the ones that I know that had a long career. A long, successful career where they won all the cups with the Blackhawks. So they knew about this for years. Those players should not have any sort of special treatment, should not be allowed to get their jerseys to be retired because of this situation. So far, what I have said is that I would strip them of draft picks, 5 years, all their draft picks. You know what? We'll just say this. All their draft picks gone. For every pick that they've that they've already traded, after that 5-year buffer has gone by, Chicago will just forfeit whatever pick that was that season. So when they're bad and they can't accomplish anything, that they instead have to just give those picks up. Oh, yeah, so you know how you could have had that second overall draft pick? Well, remember that one time where you just let this player just get really hurt and you didn't protect him? So second overall draft pick is going to get ripped away from you. So sorry that you only won 20 games in your 80-game schedule, but you can't tank. It's not going to work for you. And we're just going to give this draft pick away. Oh, Anaheim Ducks. Looks like you... Yep, because I'm assuming that they're still going to be bad. Anaheim Ducks. Looks like you get the second overall pick for free. Yup. That's what I like to see. Or, another thing that I would love to see is if the Arizona Coyotes were given some sort of benefit. Say, hey, this team did these bads. Now, we're taking away these draft picks from this organization, so we're going to dish them out to teams that are struggling. Pretty much giving them a stimulus package. Now, is the Coyotes probably the best choice? Well, if you don't want a team to relocate, that's probably the best choice. But I think the Coyotes were, you got to look at the Coyotes like they were hijacked. And this is, of course, I'm going to have a completely Coyote-centric episode. And we'll talk about that later, I guess. But the Coyotes need help. So, in all, everything that I would do to the Chicago Blackhawks organization is that I would destroy all their draft picks for 5 seasons. I would then let any draft pick that they've already given away to be a sequential burn after those 5 years. So the Chicago Blackhawks would get a sequential burn after those 5 years. They would just lose whatever pick that was. Oh yeah, we traded a first and a second for Seth Jones. Well, looks like you lose a first and a second that next season. Yeah, yes, this is gonna hurt. You pretty much force those players that are playing to retire and say, too bad, you can never get your jersey retired. Their names can still stay on the cup. Their jerseys get retired. They can never be retired. Finally, now this one might be too far. And this one might almost work in their benefit. But I think that they should be forced to have to lose a lot of their team. I think what should happen to the entire Blackhawks roster is it becomes all the players that are left, their current NHL roster, and possibly their taxi squad too, They all get added into a separate queue. A separate draft. The Kyle Beach draft. The Punish draft. The draft that will never be forgotten. And say, hey, we're going to make Chicago rebuild. And we're going to make them invest money hard. So pretty much what you do, all these players are now eligible for drafts. Yep, there's going to be a special draft. There's going to be a special lottery where they're just going to say, hey, we're going to take all these teams, juggle them all up, and let's see who wins the DeBrincat sweepstakes. Honestly, let's see who wins the Seth Jones sweepstakes. I think that would be really cool. I think that would be a huge thing that could happen. Probably is not a big possibility, but I think that would be a huge, huge step in the right direction for that franchise. Yes, I want to cripple them. Now, I will leave this with a little bit of good news. Brad Eldridge, the gentleman who was a part of the team, the video review coach, the villain, the worst person ever, has gotten his name on the Stanley Cup X'd out. Not removed, X'd out. Because when anyone looks at the Stanley Cup in the future and says, hey, why are there these X's over here? We get a great reply. We get to say, that guy ruined someone's career. And he will never be forgotten for the evil deed he did. Kyle Beach will never be forgotten as a hero that stood up for what was right. Who stood up for what was just, who stood up for freedom. The safety of the players and safety of everybody worldwide. Because now this is a discussion that just explodes. This isn't just a sports problem. This can happen anywhere. We've seen it happen in the entertainment industry. Harvey Weinstein. The comedy side of things. Bill Cosby. There are people all over the place that have been doing this for years, and it's finally getting exposed. This needs to happen, and it finally is. Justice is finally being served. And now, it's up to everyone to have a nose out like a bloodhound for this. Never again will this happen. Unfortunately, it had to happen to one person. Well, actually, it just did happen to one person. Brad Aldrich actually abused a kid about a year and a half later, a high school student. And this is where I feel awful for Kyle Beach. Because he feels responsible. Because his case did not get out. It didn't get out in time. It was kicked under the rug. Forgotten. Which was meant to be forever. And this Brad Eldridge guy, this worthless human being, he doesn't even deserve to be called a human being. I'm disgusted to know that he's part of my species. He hurt somebody else. And because of the Chicago Blackhawks organization, this is going to keep coming back. This is why my punishment that I cooked up is worth it and needs to happen. Because they covered it up and they gave this guy a recommendation letter, he was able to hurt somebody else. And Kyle Beach now has this on his conscience. That he feels that because he didn't speak up, because he didn't drive this home, that this person's going to be hurt forever. And I feel god awful about it. How couldn't you feel awful about this? This is something out of our control. What else can you do if no one believes you and everyone calls you a liar? And you try to go and take down one of the most prestigious sports franchise, the most prestigious sports franchise for that particular sport, and say, hey, this is a bad. And you're like, you know what? That never happened. Now we're going to sue you for trying to stain our name. Tell me what you think about that in the comments below. This needs to be a discussion. We cannot let this die. There needs to be pressure. And I think players everywhere need to stand up for what's right. I honestly think that there should be some sort of a strike. There needs to be something done to make up for what happened. Technically, never, ever, ever be something that will be able to help Kyle get over this. But I'm sure that this is a big step in the right direction. I thank you all for listening to this difficult episode. These topics are never fun to talk about, but they're necessary to talk about. These are things that need to get out. In the comments below, I am going to leave resources for anybody that has had something like this happen to them. That there are opportunities for you to get help. That there are people that are out there that are going to listen. That there are people that are going to be out there that are going to be able to take action for what happened. Believe that. Believe that. If there's anything you take away from this, is that Kyle Beach is showing everybody that if things like this happen to you, it's not the end of the world. You can be helped. Your voice can be heard. You are not the problem. You are a victim. And you deserve to be taken care of. Like I said, this has been a very difficult episode, but this is a necessary thing that needed to happen. This is a necessary episode. This is a necessary discussion. I need to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, tuning in whenever you're listening to this. This was a very important discussion. This has been WeCake'n. I am always caking to talk hockey. I'm always caking to talk about these hard discussions, these hard topics. Kyle, you are one of the bravest human beings on the face of this planet. I am so proud to know that you are a part of my species. I am so proud to know and so impressed to know how strong you are to stand up for yourself like this. I am so impressed. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for this sport and for what you've done for the planet, for what you've done for standing up for the right thing and for standing up for justice, standing up for the little person and showing everybody that you have power. You can do things. You can make things right. Thanks again so much for listening this week. This has been WeCake'n, and I will catch you all on the next Netcast.